Malaysia has two different types of taxes, which are direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is a tax charged on the income and wealth of a person or business. It is payable directly to the government. For example, income tax that collects from company, individuals, and petroleum. LHDN, Malaysia Inland Revenue Board, is the government body who is responsible for this direct tax. Meanwhile, indirect tax is a tax imposed on a customer who utilize the goods and services provided by business and pay it to the government indirectly. For example, sales tax, service tax, custom duties, and excise duty. RMCD, the Royal Malaysian Customs Department, is the government body who is responsible for this indirect tax. Indirect tax is very important to generate revenue because it allows the government to collect more money from a range of products and services and also provide governments with a reliable and stable source of income even during economic downturns.
This is sales tax for 2014 to 2023. In 2014, import tax hit a record high of RM4.81 billion. Major infrastructure projects like MRT drove machinery imports. At the same time, people spent more of French goods. Customs enforced tax laws strictly, which helped increase national revenue further. In 2015, import tax fell to RM2.02 billion as GST took over. Many goods were now taxed under GST instead of the border. In 2016, import tax dropped to just RM47.9 billion. GST fully replaced most broader taxes, changing how revenue was collected. In 2017, import tax dropped to just RM1.56 billion, the lowest in a decade. GST now covers almost all goods, and the government no longer relies on the all-import tax system. In 2018, import tax rose to RM2.88 billion after GST was abolished and SST returned. Sales tax applied to most imported again, and customs resumed collection starting in September. In 2019, revenue from import tax soared to RM8.94 billion, the highest in the decade. SST was fully enforced, more goods were taxed, and customs improved collection efficiency. 2020, sales tax on imports reached RM8.27 billion as the economy began recovering from the pandemic. Business resumed importing goods and customs maintained effective collection. SST remained a steady source of revenue despite globally uncertainty. In 2021, import sales tax rose to RM8.69 billion. Import continued growing as the demand for foreign goods increased. More products were taxed at the border and customs maintained strong enforcement. This showed that SST was still effective in generating consistent government revenue. In 2022, import sales tax jumped to RM10.01 billion, a major increase. Stronger global trade in a higher consumption drove more imports. Customs improved efficiency and compliance more among importers increased. This marked a strong year for SST performance and revenue growth. In 2023, import sales tax hit RM10.68 billion, the highest in the decade. Consumer spending on business import research their pay. With more goods taxed at the border and improved customer enforcement, SST proved to be a stable and reliable revenue stream. It shows strong support for the government's fiscal need.
Excise duty is a form of tax imposed by the government on certain goods and products, often those that are considered not essential, harmful, or luxury items. The common goods are alcohol, sugar, sweetened beverages, tobacco products, fuel, and others. There is a graph showing the excise duty collection in Malaysia from 2014 to 2023, which shows a fluctuating trend. In 2040, excise duty collection rose by 0.73%, mainly due to a 14% increase in tobacco excise duty. The aim was to reduce tobacco consumption and boost government revenue. However, this led to concerns from tobacco companies who fear that the rise in legal cigarette prices will increase the already growing illegal cigarette market. From 2015 to 2018, excise duty collection fell sharply, driven by a growing illegal cigarette market. By 2018, revenue had dropped by over 38%, with illegal cigarettes taking up nearly 2/3 of the market share. This caused the government to lose significant tax revenue, highlighting issues with enforcement and smuggling. Excise duty revenues increased by 4.3% to 5.13 billion ringgit Malaysian in 2019. The government created a new revenue stream by imposing an excise duty of 40 cents per litre on sugar and drinks. In addition to supporting environmental and health objectives, this initiative raised the possibility of future revenue opportunities by extending excise duty to other products, such as plastics, high-tech foods, and vaping supplies. From 2019 to 2021, excise duty fell due to COVID-19. Lockdowns reduced spending and imports, especially on cars, tobacco, and alcohol. The government delayed new excise taxes, including only-based tax on locally assembled cars and sugar-sweetened beverages that kept revenue low despite signs of recovery in 2021. In 2022, excise duty collection rose with the economic rebound where consumer spending and imports recovered. Moreover, the new taxes on sugary drinks were introduced in Budget 2022. In 2023, this trend continued with higher import values, inflation, and stronger tax enforcement. The government also began planning to expand access to luxury goods and more services.
Import duty, also referred to as customs duty, is a tax imposed on foreign goods that enter a nation via road, sea, or air. It is collected by the government to regulate the quantity of foreign goods, protect local industries, and generate revenue. The graph illustrates the annual value of import duty collected in Malaysia from 2014 to 2023. In 2014, import duty grew to 2.67 billion ringgit Malaysia due to an increase in collection of duty on machinery and spare parts. In 2015, customs revenue of Malaysia via import duties increased to 2.73 billion ringgit Malaysia, mainly due to improved duty collection for machinery and plastic products. Import duty rose to 2.91 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2016 due to higher duty collection on complete built-up CBU motorcars. In 2017, import duty fell to 2.78 billion ringgit Malaysia. Import duty increased to 2.9 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2018 and it dropped to 2.73 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2019 due to Malaysian government has introduced cuts on import duties for certain goods. In 2020, Malaysia's import duty fell to just 2.35 billion ringgit Malaysia due to widespread lockdowns under the COVID-19 MCO. Global commodity demand weakened. In 2021, import duties rose to 2.64 billion ringgit Malaysia following higher domestic demands for import cigarettes and CBU cars. Import duty collection jumped to 3.19 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2022, was driven by increased demand for vehicles. Malaysia's import duty dropped to 3.04 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2023 because of greater domestic production capacity, which decreased dependency on imports.
The data present in graph 5 show Malaysia export duty collection during 2040 till 2023. In 2040, duty export was 1.892 million and in 2050, duty export was decreased 1.039 million. This is because of lower crude oil price and decreased growth in agriculture sector due to the weather conditions such as floods. In 2016, duty export could decrease 0.980 million due to lower global crude oil price and rising agricultural price and unfavorable weather. In 2017 and 18, duty export was increased 1.355 million and 1.731 million due to a higher global crude palm oil price, supply-demand mismatch and weather condition related to disruption to food production. In 2019, export duty decreased to 1.121 million due to lower global crude oil price, decrease in agriculture sector, decrease in fertilizer application and dry weather. Duty export decreased by 0.746 million in 2020 due to global crude oil price decline and reduction community production, largely influenced by COVID-19 movement control orders. In 2021, duty export rise to 2.057 million due increased crude palm oil price to around 4,000 per ton, exceeding the threshold value 2,500 per ton in Peninsular Malaysia. In 2022, duty export increased to 2.621 million due increased price of major commodity like oil, palm oil and coal. Crude palm oil hit 8,072 per ton and coal reached $400 per ton. In 2023, export decreased 2.038 million. This is because global conflict and geopolitical tensions such as conflict in Ukraine and reduction in the price of key export commodities such as petroleum, palm oil, and this decreased their export value.
Between 2014 and 2023, Malaysia's service tax revenue experienced many ups and downs due to major changes in the country's tax system and economy. In 2014, service tax generated revenue of around 6.28 billion ringgit under the original SSD system. This was due to the strong growth of sectors such as telecommunications, hospitality, and professional service, and improved tax compliance through digital systems. In 2015, the government replaced the SST with the goods and service tax. As the GST covers more goods and services, service tax collections fell sharply from 3.04 billion ringgit in 2015 to just 103 billion ringgit in 2016 and were even lower in 2017. This decline was not due to a slowdown in the economy, but rather because of the GST was adopted as a major tax. After a change of government in 2018, The unpopular GST was abolished and SST was reintroduced in September. Since it only started in the last quarter of the year, service tax revenue that year was about 1.47 billion ringgit. By 2019, with a full SST year, revenue had risen to 12.28 billion ringgit. This was due to good implementation, the ease of paying taxes using MySST, and the introduction of tax on digital services such as Netflix and Spotify. From 2020 to 2021, even with COVID-19, service tax revenue remained stable at around 12 billion ringgit. Then in 2022, revenue rose to 15.11 billion ringgit as digital tax rules were expanded, and in 2023, it was a record high of 17.09 billion ringgit. This steady growth demonstrates how Malaysia has adapted to digital transformation and used tax reforms to support long-term revenue growth. With a new 8% tax rate starting in 2024, further growth is expected in the coming years.
Conclusion: from the data, we can see that the indirect tax increase, decrease, and lastly increase from the year 2010 to 2019. Despite the revenue from indirect taxes fluctuating slightly due to the policy changes and the global economic trends, it still is a stable source of income. Recommendation: firstly, the efficiency of tax collection must be increased through the investment in digital infrastructure, which would reduce tax evasion. Secondly, public awareness of consumer and business must be improved. It can increase the transparency and enhance cooperation with the tax authority.